Act Age is one of the hardest manga to get a hold of, and this isn't because it's out of print or just really rare. Despite having sold over 3 million copies worldwide and having acquired a lot of industry awards, with the manga also having an anime adaptation in the works as well as a stage play, you'll find not a single volume of this manga on the shelves. The manga Act Age had disappeared entirely from official distribution thanks to the actions of one of its authors. In this video, I'll be detailing the entire scandal of the Act Age manga, discussing what exactly had happened, and why this manga, which had so much potential, was ruined by one of its authors. So the publisher of Weekly Shonen Jump Shueisha had paired up two individuals, the artist Shiro Usazaki and the writer Tatsuya Matsuki. This was back in 2017. This was a bit of an unconventional combination, but Shueisha were banking on their teamwork in order to create another hit manga series. The artist Usazaki had brought something that was very unique to Shonen Jump, and this was an incredible artistic style which had allowed her characters to showcase their internal emotional states on the pages of the manga. Her character design work transcended typical manga drawings. Every micro expression that she was able to draw had told a story, every gesture conveyed layers of meaning, which dialogue alone wasn't able to capture. The writer Matsuzuki, on the other hand, had created something unusual. This was a protagonist whose superpower was essentially losing herself completely. Kei Yonagi's method acting wasn't just a gimmick, it was a psychological deep dive into identity performance and the thin line between reality and fiction. Matsuki's writing explored how someone would be able to harness trauma and emotional intensity as tools for artistic expression. Their collaborative process was highlighted throughout the author notes scattered across the volumes of Act Age, where Matsuki would casually mention his research methods or his daily observations. He had even written about needing a bicycle for social distancing and his hobbies. He had made these remarks during the pandemic, and these comments would largely take on a deeper, sinister meaning once everybody had found out what Matsuki was up to. At the time when these author notes from Matsuki were initially published, they were just simply glimpses into his creative process, as it seemed to show a writer who was genuinely interested in understanding his characters via the real world that he was living in. Usazaki's artwork had elevated every script that she had received from Matsuki. Act Age did an incredible job of changing audiences' expectations of what a Shonen Jump manga could be. This story proved that you don't need supernatural battles or sports competitions in order to captivate the audience of Jump. Act Age was even voted in 6th place for Most Wanted Anime Adaptation of 2020. It was a series that had appealed to both male and female readers. And behind the scenes, an anime adaptation was already in the works, as voice acting agencies were quietly discussing potential castings, and a stage play production for Act Age was announced for 2022. This represented something unprecedented. This was a live action adaptation of a manga series that was still actively being serialized, which didn't even have an anime adaptation at the time. Act Age was proof that the magazine Weekly Shonen Jump could diversify without alienating its core readership. There were also international licensing discussions for Act Age, including plans for expanded English releases, potential streaming tie-ins, as well as multiple merchandise lines which were in the works. All of this incredible success had come crashing down on the 18th of June 2020. What had started as an ordinary Thursday evening in Nakano Ward, the events which had taken place would eventually unfold into a night that would shatter multiple lives and expose the dark reality behind a rising manga writer's public persona. It's important to clarify that these crimes that I'm about to talk about are linked to the writer of Act Age and not the incredible artist behind the series. So at approximately 8 PM, a middle school girl became the victim of a calculated assault by a bicycle riding perpetrator who fled immediately after the attack. Thanks to the courage of the victim, who reported the incident immediately, it triggered a comprehensive police investigation that would prove devastating in its thoroughness. Tokyo's extended surveillance network had captured everything that had happened, with the perpetrators' approach patterns, their escape routes, and most damning of all, a second nearly identical assault which had occurred just 1 hour later, targeting another young girl in the same area. Thanks to modern forensic analysis, it made the perpetrator's denial almost impossible. Security footage provided multiple angles of the attacks, timestamps created an unbreakable timeline, and the behavioral pattern analysis revealed signature elements which linked both crimes to the same individual. The police carefully traced the suspect's movements through camera networks as they built a case that was so airtight that when they finally made an arrest 7 weeks later, the 29-year-old manga writer could only respond that there was generally nothing incorrect about their accusations. He had pretty much admitted guilt. This wasn't just impulsive behavior, but the acts of a calculated predator. The tactical similarities between the attacks, the careful choice of victims, and the deliberate escape planning suggested someone who had thought extensively about committing these types of crimes. On the 8th of August 2020, on the Saturday morning, the news hit like a tsunami as industry insiders watched in horror as reports confirmed the arrest of the writer of the Act Age manga. This triggered some emergency meetings at Shueisha, which would continue throughout the weekend. On the 9th of August, the weekly Shonen Jump editorial department had met with Shiro Usazaki. Her breakthrough work, Act Age, the series which had launched her career, was about to have a massive spotlight shone at it thanks to the disgusting acts of the series writer. This was no fault of Usazaki, she was just a victim of the disgusting acts of Matsuki. Legal teams worked frantically to untangle contractual obligations while executives faced an unprecedented decision as they were figuring out the future of the Act Age manga. On the 10th of August, we finally got Shueisha's official situation on the matter as they announced the immediate cancellation of the Act Age manga. They stated that it is impossible to continue with its serialization as every word had been scrutinized by legal teams expressing support for Usazaki while completely severing their ties with Matsuki. On the 11th of August 2020, the final chapter published in Japan only, with international publishers making the decision to abandon any and all content related to Act Age in order to avoid any association with the series writer's scandal. Viz Media removed future volume listings of Act Age, Manga Plus refused to translate the final chapter, and within hours, Act Age had effectively vanished from global distribution. You understand why within 72 hours Act Age was taken off of shelves because of the actions of Matsuki. According to the police, a girl was walking in the Nakano ward of Tokyo on the 18th of June around 8 PM. This is where the suspect had approached the girl from behind while on a bicycle and he had touched her inappropriately on her chest. Afterwards, the suspect fled the scene on the bike and the girl went to the police as they analyzed security camera footage to investigate. The police, through the security footage, found that an hour later a similar incident occurred on a nearby Nakano road with a different female middle school student, as they then identified the suspect to be Matsuki. The collateral damage of these actions had massively impacted Shiro Usazaki as she faced an impossible emotional maze as she mourned her career's defining work while supporting the very decision that had destroyed it. Following the cancellation of the series, Usazaki had made her very own statement. She says that she comprehensively accepts the decision of the Shonen Jump editorial division to cancel Act Age. Established mangaka like Yusuke Murata had publicly supported Usazaki, and hashtags had trended worldwide as fans separated their anger at Matsuki from their support for an innocent artist who was caught in an impossible situation thanks to his disgusting acts. We had learned some new details about Matsuki's case as prosecutors had wanted 18 months of imprisonment for him without suspension. This reflects the serious nature of his crimes against minors. The defense had tried to argue that Matsuki's complete career destruction had constituted social punishment, which was severe enough to warrant some leniency to Matsuki's imprisonment. This legal strategy, while effective, raised uncomfortable questions about how professional consequences factor into court decisions. The judge's final decision was to hand Matsuki a 18-month prison sentence, but it was suspended for 3 years. This sentence was in line with the Japanese court philosophy of emphasizing rehabilitation over retribution. With Matsuki's admission of guilt, his expressions of remorse, and the genuine devastation to his professional life had all influenced the final sentencing that he had received. The public did expect much more of a harsher punishment for him, as Matsuki's own statement had read that there is no way to apologize for what he had done to the victims. With him being handed a suspended prison sentence, it means that Matsuki could avoid prison time if he maintains good behavior for 3 years. But on the other hand, because of these acts, his entire professional life will most likely never recover, and we won't be seeing him writing manga ever again. Now, following all of this, in September of 2024, we had seen Shiro Usazaki's triumphant return to weekly Shonen Jump with the series Mada no Ichi. This had proved that her talent endures beyond her association with this scandal linked to Matsuki. This announcement received a lot of genuine excitement from manga fans across the world who had followed her journey from a rising star to a victim of circumstance to then see her eventual return in 2024. Here is the announcement Usazaki had made on her Twitter, where she reveals that she will be working on this all-new manga series with a new writer called Nishi Osamu. Mada no Ichi is still being serialized within Weekly Shonen Jump, and as of making this video, it has had over 3 manga volumes published, with there being 36 manga chapters created so far. It's great to see that Usazaki has returned in top form, and she has not let that scandal affect her in the slightest, and it does seem like her artwork has also improved since the publication of Act Age, so she benefited from that 3 to 4 year gap by honing her art skills even further. I really am looking forward to seeing more of Mada no Ichi. And as for the Act Age manga cancellation, what do you think about this scandal linked to Tatsuya Matsuki? If there's anything that I've forgotten to mention about the cancellation of the Act Age manga, then let me know by continuing the discussion in the comments. This was definitely one of the more disturbing cases linked to Weekly Shonen Jump manga of recent years. If there's any other major scandals or controversies that you want me to discuss, then let me know by leaving a comment under this video. And lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this one, and I cannot wait to see you in my next video.
A massive thank you goes out to all of my amazing Patreon supporters for helping to make this video possible. If you also want to support the channel and see your name in the end of my videos, then check out my Patreon, which has loads of perks like early video access and so much more. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.